Hey everybody, this is Coach Youth, aka Coach Jordan at Maestro Soccer Training. Today we're going to talk about how to score every time in soccer. Truthfully, this is simple. It's when I tell you what it is, you're going to be upset, but truthfully, it's something that you should have realized a long time ago. So we're going to talk about how to score every time that you have the chance to. Now we're going to talk about power and placement. Now we're going to talk about power first. When you're hitting the ball, some people don't know where to hit, what part of the foot to hit it with, where to hit the ball. This is things that you should be considering because if you want to score, you should know every kind of way you can score, or ways that you can do it. So, what we're talking about today, in terms of power, is that the instep part of your foot. I could show you, but literally you can just go look it up. The instep is the hardest part of your foot. It's the part where people will step on. Instead of your toes, it's the part that's higher up on your foot. It's the hardest bone. That right there is where you'll get power from. As you know, when a soccer ball hits bone, it just bounces right off. It's like a wall. It's like when you're juggling and it hits your shins and it just bounces right off and you lose control. Okay, imagine if you actually meant to hit it with your shin, going at full power, bringing your leg back and hitting it with your shin. It's going to create some power. Now, hitting it with the instep nowadays is different from the old days. Old days when it was 50s, 60s, possibly even 70s, the ball was bigger. The soccer ball was bigger. So people could hit the ball like this. If this was the foot, here's the instep, they could just hit it, put their foot underneath and just hit it. Nowadays the balls are too small, so you can't just put your foot underneath and hit it up because you just be kicking the ground. The way to overcome that is simple. Make it sideways. Come at it from an angle, from side angles. Still hit the middle of the ball. Not the top, not the bottom. The middle of the ball with your instep at a side angle. And you're going to get that power. You might even get knuckle, depending on what your follow through is, which we will talk about because the follow through is very important. Whenever you want power in your shot, that technique I just told you right there, that's what's going to get it. Now, if you stop, if you don't follow through, if you don't raise your leg after you shoot it, if you don't raise it, if you just stop, right there, you just kick it and stop, that's the knuckleball technique and the ball's going to knuckle. And you're not always going to know where it's going to knuckle at. So if you don't want the knuckle, the only way to be sure is that you follow through, you raise your leg. Remember, you're not kicking the ball, you're basically pushing through it. I'm sorry, let me change that. That doesn't sound... You're not just kicking the ball and then leaving it alone because it's not there anymore. If you really want power into it, if you really want placement and not that knuckle, then follow through. Raise your leg when you do it. Act like you're kicking through the ball. Kick through the ball. That's a good thing to have right there. Kick through the ball. And when you're going to take your shot, you should be low. I imagine when you're taking your shot, you have the ball, you're dribbling, or you just have a touch of it. If you touch the ball, you should be low. Because like you exploding up and track how the runners start low and then explode up, there's a reason they start low, because they get more power. It's the same thing with shooting. If you stay low and when you kick, your body comes up. It's not just your legs that are working. It's your whole body. Your whole body. That's why people say follow through, because not only can that knuckle thing, maybe cause an injury, it's also good for your body because you're using your whole body. Your whole body to shoot. It's going to be a powerful shot. Now that we know where to kick it with our kicking foot, how to kick it, and what will result if we don't follow through, we need to talk about the placement. Now, this is the simple way of placement. Everyone, what I'm about to tell you now, you already know and you're going to be upset about this video. But the truth is, the only way to place your shots is by simply point where you're going to go with your standing foot. This is something they taught you years ago. They never pressed on it because they didn't think it was that big of a deal. It is. It is. If I'm training a striker, I want to make sure that he's repetitively done making sure he's focused on his standing foot. Wherever your standing foot points, that's where the ball is going to go. If you hit it with your instep like that, that's a straight long shot, that's where it's going to go. Wherever your standing foot is pointing. So whenever you're shooting, you're doing shooting drills, don't focus on the powers, so to say, if you don't have the placement down. Remember, placement comes before power. If you can put it into the corners with just a little power into it, don't need that much, you've beaten the keeper. If you have a lot of power and no placement, it's just a wild shot, and people just think you don't know what you're doing. But when you have them both working together and in harmony, you're going to have a shot like Ronaldo, a shot like Messi, a shot like Suarez, Harry Kane, Aguero, all these great strikers around the world. I guarantee you they follow this. Matter of fact, they do. So your standing foot, remember, wherever it's pointing, if it's pointing at the corner, that's where it's going to go. If it's pointing in the middle, that's where it's going to go. And when I say that's where it's going to go, that's what I mean when you hit the ball with your instep, with the technique I just told you. Now, if you're hitting it in a different way, hitting it with your outside instep, like the inside of your foot, if you're hitting it with the inside or outside of your foot, you're obviously going to have some spin. It's going to be outside spin or inside spin. But I'm talking about just a straight strike to where you want that placement, that lined shot into the corner, point to where you want to shoot. So whenever you're doing a training drill, actually, you can go ahead and get 7, 8 balls, line them up, and focus on one corner. Focus on one corner and shoot at that until you get it right, until you're able to make it out of 10 shots, at least 8 out of 10 times. Work hard to get to that. Because if you can place it and you already have the power, that already makes you a long distance threat. Not only are you someone, if he's inside the box, he's going to get on target. Outside the box, he's as big as a threat. Now, this technique, these two techniques, they're simple and they work, but you have to apply it into your training. You have to be thinking about that. This is the difference between players who go above and beyond and players who don't. They think about ways to improve themselves. Now, if you're a striker and you're watching this, this is something you should definitely be focusing on. Definitely. Your job is to score. So if you want to know how to score every time, you obviously should take in these concepts. Practice finishing with both of your feet. Just focus on the techniques. Then you can do it with your left, then with your right. So next time you're in the game and they think, he can't score from there, you can hit it from there. You can score from 20 yards out. You can score from even 30 yards out. Who knows? Got to experiment with it. But these techniques work as long as you do it right. When you're doing these, when you're working on it, make sure you're analyzing. Make sure every single time you do it, you should be knowing exactly what you do. You should be knowing where your standing foot was planted. You should be knowing where I struck the ball. This is how trial and error happens. This is how you find a solution. Because if it's not working and you don't know why, you have to realize that you need to see what you're doing. You need to know what you're doing. So before every shot, you should be telling yourself, okay, I'm going to place my foot right here. I'm going to hit the ball right there. I'm going to hit it with this part of the body. You hit it. It doesn't go in. You figure out what happened. Did your standing foot pointing too far to the left? Did you not hit it correctly with the inside of your foot? Did you not follow through? Did it knuckle? These are factors you have to keep track of. So to score every time, the two techniques you need to work on, instep, that's for the power. For the placement, all you want is a standing foot. Wherever it's pointing, that's where it's going to go if you're using the instep. If you work on these hard enough, you will be unstoppable. Nobody can stop you when you're shooting. No one can stop your shots. Your shots are always going to be on target. All right, that's it for me today. This is Coach Youth, aka Coach Jordan. I keep switching it up, guys. I'm sorry. You just call me Coach Youth. That just makes it simpler. Or Coach Jordan, one of the two. Doesn't matter. This is Maestro Soccer Training. We're out.